We'll open up the planning board meeting for Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. This is being conducted in a hybrid manner pursuant to the general laws. If anybody is recording, that is fine. You just need to let us know. Okay. We will be, we are recording this and we'll be putting this up online as well. 7 o'clock town planners reports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dolan. I wanted to start just by making a clarification. At the last meeting, during the member comments section, Mr. Sutton asked about a proposal for, I'm going to call it a hobby garage at, and this particular individual is looking at the land on Two States Avenue. This is the parcel behind the VFW that was split up a couple of years back. And just for the sake of putting it into the town planning report portion right here, I do take calls about similar matters on a regular basis. This one might be peculiar enough that perhaps I should have voiced it here. Nonetheless, the clarification provided to that individual was that there needed to be a residential use associated with development of that property. Look, they could go other directions in the R20 district that are related to some commercial recreation accommodations, but going straight to facility that might be, let's say, a hobby shop, hobby garage, maybe nothing but a gentleman's storage building wasn't enough, in my estimation, in coordination with Kyle Scott, the building inspector, to satisfy that residential component. It needed to be accessory to something residential. So nonetheless, that was the message translated back. And we'll see what comes of that particular development. I wanted to share with everyone that Lodestar Energy, I mentioned a couple of meetings back there, they'll be coming in within another month or so to expand their existing solar facility. I think this one is called Goose Pond Solar. It's the one south of the solar array closest to Congamon Road. And then that operator is escaping me at the moment. Why, I couldn't tell you. But anyways, Lodestar Energy operates the one to the south of that. There's a Bell Dot portion they're expanding into. Nearly adjacent, if you will, but across some conservation land. That same electrical transmission right-of-way passes near a property that is accessed from College Highway. I believe it's owned individually and in concert with property that does have frontage of College Highway. And so the inquiry voiced to my desk was, hey, how do we approach the town about permission to cross town property to connect, if you will, to that electrical right-of-way, similar to what they did, if you will, on the eastern side at Goose Pond Solar. Nonetheless, that's isn't necessarily a planning board matter, but I wanted to share that inquiry come in, and whether they seek a license or right of way or something even more formal through the town will be matter at least initiated through the select board. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the Valley Development Council meeting. That's a group administered through the PVPC of Hampden and Hampshire County planners. The poignant topic, which is certainly echoed through part of our agenda today, is how the Affordable Housing Act is, I guess, providing opportunity or providing for change across Massachusetts when it comes into effect in a few months. Just a quick reminder to everyone, the Joint Planning Board Select Board meeting that took place yesterday is rescheduled or scheduled again for October 21st. I'll send an Outlook reminder at least so that everybody can hop in their calendars if that's the easiest way to do so. As we get closer, I'll desperately try to remember to post an agenda for an off date. Right. It's my understanding that we'll have the Oak Ridge Homes Mylars coming in, within a couple of days. I only mention that because we got a little gap between here and our next meeting, so if 3 members have the opportunity to swing by town hall, after I send an email out, we can apply signatures to those final, Mylars. Let's see. Town clerk Christie Maya sent me a note, indicating that the required posting of the bylaw amendment from the town meeting has taken place. The time frame, essentially, this allows for anyone who alleges a defect, a procedural defect, in the way that the bylaw amendment process went forward, to lodge it. That period concludes January 2nd. As it relates to ROA and Mr. Tom Chessman's business this evening, that this puts us in a period of time where, according to Attorney Beglane, the risk at this point in time is very low. It seems very narrow chance that would be should that be appealed at this point in time through that final posting. Now that we know that it's taking place, the planning board can proceed with issuing a decision, and the applicants feel risk of receiving it and pursuing that in the interim, excuse me. Last item I'll mention is that we are in receipt of a letter from a Mr. Crystal. This was a gentleman a few meetings back that had a comment and a few concerns about a variance that had been issued over at Lakemont Street. And I took a few moments, you may recall, as we were shifting gears between agenda items to share some thoughts and take his contact information, and I spoke with him afterward. He has some primary concerns with, I suppose, the location, the subject matter of that variance that was requested and was issued through the Board of Appeals. In this particular letter, he asks for it to be his formal appeal of that decision. I don't know if there's any validity to trying to appeal that at this time, presuming that the Board of Appeals satisfied their public notice requirements and conducted matters efficiently. The appeal period had closed on that particular project.
What was that address again, John?
The address of the variance was 2 Lakemont Street. So nonetheless, I gave Mr. Dory a copy of the letter. If you're interested in seeing what it is, you're welcome to do so. I just mention it for everyone's attention. I don't think it involves the planning board, as the pursuit of variances turned what was a non-conforming parcel into a conforming circumstance according to that proposal. That's it. 7:13.
Does the appeals board have the final say if we turn it down and they approve it?
I'm sorry?
Does the appeal board have the final say if we turn a project down and they approve it? Is that
If we turn a project down, and
right?
they
It goes to the
approve it,
Board of Appeals and they approve it.
there are under a normal circumstance, according to my understanding, and I surely have not been dragged through the process. One of the remedies would be that, for example, a special permit decision may come back to us to reconsider or go through the process anew if there's some defect or if it was assigned in such a fashion. Through the myriad of responsibilities that are flipped to the Board of Appeals, I believe there are certain circumstances where they end up being the body to consider an appeal. Which ones those are at the moment, I cannot fully remember.
Okay.
There are some sort of a random little something. I can't remember what it is.
Yes, they are identified, remedies are the right word there. They're identified as the body to receive if it will matters under those specific circumstances.
All right. 7:10 PM. Continued public hearing. 662. Public comments, 7:05.
Oh, hey, how about that?
Awesome. How about that? 7:05, public comment. Anybody have anything for the board tonight that is not on the agenda? I have to see 5 people. I think that we don't- Let's skip over.
There may be a couple.
All right, not hearing anything, 7:10 PM, continued public hearing. 662A College Highway. Thank you, Jessica. We have a request for continuance.
Mr. Boris,
Oh, yeah, I was trying to figure out what he meant by next week, but I assume this will be to the 29th. As a continuance.
that's correct. His intention is to try to, the last offer was to talk with me and Jessica prior to bring to the board.
So, do I hear a motion to continue 662A College Highway to 7:10 PM on October 29th?
Dave Spina, so moved.
Dick Singer second.
The roll call vote, Michael Doherty, aye.
Dave Spina, aye.
Dick Singer aye.
Jessica Thornton, I.
7:15 PM. Public hearing for 6 South Loomis Streets. Special permit and site plan approval application for multiple estate lots and a common drive.
Mr. Chair, if it pleases you, I'll read the public notice.
Fantastic. It does please me very, very much.
I'm disappointed. I told it wasn't at my fingertips, but nonetheless. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11, and the Town of Southwick bylaws. The Planning Board will hold a hybrid public hearing on October 8th, 2024 at 7:15 PM via Zoom and in Town Hall at 454 College Highway, Southwick, Massachusetts, on an application by Vladimir Vilkovi for estate lot and common driveway special permits. The property located at 6 South Loomis Street in the Residence 40 zone. Property shown on current assessor's map 129, parcel 21. Applicant proposes to create 2 estate lots, one of which will have a common driveway in accordance with the Code of Southwick zoning bylaws. Chapter 185, sections 9, 10, 12, 21, and 30.1. Some information is provided. A copy of the application and plans may be inspected by contacting the town planner, John Goddard. His phone number or email address. Any person interested or wishing to be heard in the matter should appear at the time and manner designated. Michael Doty, Chairperson, Southwick Planning Board.
Okay. John, how are you?
Good, all right.
Good. I may have accidentally thought that was Rob before when I walked in.
It's never happened.
There's no particular reason whatsoever.
I did the same thing.
All right, why don't you make your presentation and then we'll kind of go from there and.
Sure. My name is John Tomaszewski, not Rob Levesque with our Levesque Associates.
Very nice.
Here to present a special permit application for the creation of 2 estate lots and a common driveway. We located at 6 South Loomis Street here in the town of Southwick. Parcel is located on the east side of South Loomis Street. South Loomis Street is over here. Is the east side, north is up, which always makes it easy. Parcel happens to be right on the state line. Connecticut is right down here. The parcel itself contains 16.75 acres. It's partially developed at this point. There's currently a single family home and a few accessory structures. There's lawn area and wooded areas. Ultimately, the owner and applicant would look to create a total of 5 residential lots, 3 standard R40 lots, and the 2 estate lots, which is part of this application. In order to access what would be, so the two estate lots are to the rear. They have sort of a longer entrance into the this would be lot A to the north, lot B to the south. The common drive is located on lot A that would provide access to lot A, as well as ultimately proposed lot 1, which is located at the northwest portion of the site. Sort of these green areas here are what we have flagged for wetlands on the site. We're not, there's been no filing with conservation at this point, you know, until lots are created and there's construction. Just wanted to note that they are there on the site. I don't know, I guess that's it in a nutshell. If anyone has any questions?
Okay. Anything from the board?
Why can't you put lot one driveway right off South Loomis Street to make it a common drive?
That basically this green area here is what we flagged as wetland.
Right,
And the property line is just to the north of where we show this. It'd be work within the 50-foot buffer
okay,
of the wetland. My understanding, there's a no touch buffer, there, 50-foot no touch in Southwick, so. Would be viable. So, I mean, as we have it proposed, the driveway location into lot one would be this back corner in here.
okay.
And, you know, I would assume the house would be located in the upland, probably outside the, you know, any of the conservation
Sure.
jurisdiction.
Is the house that is currently existing that would end up being on estate lot B, is that gonna stay?
Yes, that's my understanding. It is. These structures, this is where the existing house is right here.
Did he pass away or is he still living, the gentleman owns the house?
I
Okay,
don't have that information.
no, I remember who he was, that's nice.
And then there would be individual driveways for the two A and R
The two-
lots.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
lots 2 and 3 would have their own curb cuts,
correct.
yes.
Anything else from the board?
Oh, I know.
All right, John, do you have any comments?
Sure thing. I'll start with Randy Brown. He shared a comment, just asking that some utilities be added to the plan to show their locations, and related to the access easement and just a lot of driveways. I shared a few early comments, most of which were addressed. And John, of course, I stepped up for a key moment of your presentation, but one of the factors here was going to remain open, at least it's my interpretation at the moment, is the need for a stormwater management permit owing to the area disturbance. Did you mention that a few moments ago, or is this fresh territory?
I did not.
Okay, good. So if you will, the northerly, well, I should say the common driveway in estate lot access there, that whole development envelope, I think we're north of an acre's worth of disturbance. Without putting words in your team's mouth, John, is there a thought about, you know, when and how to address that stormwater permit need?
I don't think we, you know, looked at that in any great detail at this point. Yeah.
That's an honest answer, that's fair.
Yeah.
So I suppose the planning board would have two options available. My only concern is that if option B if we'll make it a condition of approval, that we may need to modify some circumstance related to this plan here in stormwater management. I know we're not talking about a tremendous area of impervious, but that's just a point of awareness here. Let's see, aside from that, now I asked for some additional labels to be added to the plans and that was managed. Bear with me for one more second. Southerly estate lot that divides the existing residence in those future frontage lots. It does leave, if you'll, a fair area open. The estate lot bylaw talks about establishing some screening and separation between the separate uses. And I think we can either see by the colors on that plan or at least the tree line. On my shared drawing, right about there, that if you lot 2 and the house, there's some openness between them.
You in this area here?
Yes. I see, so that we have a little bit of green, added there. So I think if you were to satisfy that, separation need, there might need to be some plantings in that area. One more moment, please.
Do the 5 lots include the existing house?
The existing house would be on, lot B, estate lot B, it's right in here,
Okay,
so yeah.
so 4 buildable.
So it'd be four.
Four buildable, okay.
ones, I guess.
Makes
I think the last comment with any bearing, or meeting tonight was related to the submitted maintenance agreement, and covenant for the shared driveway. John's coworker, Tom Avery, tells me it's the same one that I represented before the planning board a number of years back. He's probably right, but nonetheless, it's a gloriously brief document, and perhaps it behooves us to just run it past town council and make sure they're satisfied first. If town council says it's okay, I definitely wrote that a few years back.
Common driveway on the south side, is that the existing driveway now?
Gonna be down.
Down here,
Yes,
actually, the existing driveway kind of loops in here,
okay.
so that would go away, obviously.
I'm sorry, if I can make one more observation, I'll be quiet for a few minutes. Owing to timing, this one came in, we're able to get it advertised and on for tonight's meeting. We generally give town departments a number of weeks to respond. One of the estate lot permit requirements is that it be, I think they say sign off or something like that in the bylaw by both DPW and fire. DPW's element, both through their comments, I think, in the curb cut permit gets satisfied. But we are awaiting feedback from the fire department on this proposal. The floor is yours.
I'm just trying to make sure that this like. So these are 2 estate lots that are. Ultimately touching each other in the back, right? Is it? I mean, I guess I had in my head, you can't have 2 estate lots next to each other. But I guess that's not technically true with how you measure it, which is
Yeah, the driveway or the lot itself?
you can't have,
Can't be within 200 feet. If I'm reading what you're reading.
let's go back to it. I mean, I just always had in my head, you can't have 2 estate lots next to each other, so. No estate lot should be created and no special permit granted. For an estate lot which is within 200 feet of another estate lot in an R40 or within 150 feet of another estate lot in an R20. That is otherwise permitted by elsewhere in the chapter. Such distances shall be measured along the frontage of the property on the same side of the street upon which the property is located.
What's the distance between the two?
The 2 access strips, right, which is more than, which is 200.
Yeah, exactly, 200.
And the access strips are how wide?
That's
Fifty
been-
feet.
50 feet.
They're at least 50.
Right,
That's why I outlined, because when I look at it, I can't tell. There's no measurement there, and it's probably pretty close to 50 just by eyeballing it. If that's 200. But I'm assuming those are,
It is 50.
50 or-
We do have a label along the street. It says 50.09, but the property lines aren't perpendicular to the roads. Yeah, that, you want to call it a right of way or that easement or however that, whatever, I don't know, that has an official name.
oh, it's underneath, okay,
Is 50 feet.
That's true.
it's underneath the, hatch. Yeah, okay. All right,
Access strip. And they are separated by 200 feet with that. Lot 2 is 200 feet. That's 200 feet of flat.
Right,
Anything else from the board?
No, I agree with John's mentioning about the buffer between the existing home that's there. If you're gonna create another lot in front, there should be plantings added. Because right now, when you drive by it, you just see straight back.
Has it been long enough for me to speak again?
Yeah.
I was going to be quiet, but now that, of course, that I'm seeing it up on a larger screen, to some degree, I don't know how the topography affects, we're going to the view sheds from that house to and from it. Perhaps the same aspect applies at lot 3 as well with the new, in my thought, I was just seeing that existing driveway and that straight shot west from the house, but there may be some element of privacy protected by the bylaw that needs to be implemented for lot 3 as well.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
One quick question. I think the proposed hard compacted surface, the 25 feet to the road, is that the language we typically use, or do we say paved or concrete? Or
Use the
is that what we, is it
language, or we do now. I don't remember when it changed, but it actually may not be, or maybe it may have changed from that, right? It changed from that as the last one?
I think, I don't think it has
Oh, that's
changed.
true. Okay. go ahead, sorry.
I think the entirety of the driveway says it's to be a hard compacted
Right.
surface. I think deliberately ambiguous, as I said, in prior decisions, the condition has been that the apron at the street be paved
Yeah.
with asphalt.
So I think this here, if I'm squinting, I think it says hard compacted surface at the ends there. I think maybe we want to change that.
That's a fair. clarification.
Anything else from the board?
No.
Um. Any, public comments? Yes,
I'm just
You-
kind of confused.
just hold on one sec, you just got a name and address, so that
Oh,
we have,
Ashley Mountain, I live at 20 Jeffrey Circle, one of the north lots up there.
Okay.
Yeah, right on like where the estate lot A is. But I'm kind of confused about the terminology. What makes those two estate lots and the other one's not? Is it because there's
it's the,
drawings for a house already or?
no, it's the frontage that is on the road, so those two lots have that 50-foot access strip, which would not normally be the amount of frontage you would need in that area.
Okay.
And so that's what makes it an estate lot.
Okay, and then I'm just wondering, so obviously I live to the north side there. I'm just wondering about how wooded things are gonna be kept. Just because it's such, beautiful woods up there, I hate for like all the trees to be pulled though, so I'm just wondering how. Wooded things are hoping to stay.
John, do you know how big that property is?
Is proposed
Two
estate
point,
lot or,
Yes, lot A.
2.9.
it's 5.5 acres total.
Oh, including the,
Including the access strip.
It seems like you
It-
have a line there of your woodland line.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
you're planning to
this is
keep.
a proposed line, this is, I'm trying to. It's kind of a busy plan, I'm trying to find where the existing tree line is. I mean, I think this whole area is wooded. With the estate lots, there is a 75-foot building setback line, so. This is our proposed house location, but there is some flexibility with that. But there would likely be at least a 75-foot buffer. I can't imagine someone would want to move back here and clear cut the whole thing, but yeah, I don't know that we have control over that. But there's certainly, I mean, it's wooded now, and I would anticipate at least 100-foot, buffer, but I can't speak to that. There certainly wouldn't be a structure, because like I said, there's a 75-foot building setback requirement
Okay.
for the estate lot.
And it's all wooded now, correct? I mean, it's all,
Yes,
yeah, that,
I did receive a telephone call from direct abutter to Lot A with, I think, similar questions about change and so on and so forth. The individual recognized that that he did not control this property. And I did explain to her that same 75-foot structural setback, as well as the presence of the other resource areas, bring certain limitations to how much clearing one might expect out there.
there's some big timbers in there.
anything else?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Jean Forget, 22 Jeffersburg. So there is no guarantee or way of knowing where owns that land can do whatever they want right up to our backyard.
No. That's not. So as John was just saying, there is at a minimum 75 feet from the back of that property for Lot A to where they can build there's a building envelope, right? So that house is not going to be any closer than 75 feet to the back of that property.
Right, and they clear the trees.
Yeah, I mean, as with any lot, any property that they own, you could clear the trees, but there wouldn't really be, I mean, I guess you sort of rely on the fact that people wouldn't necessarily want to do that and open it up to a neighbor, right? Most people want to have some degree of privacy, and if you can't build something there, there's really not a great reason to spend the money and clear all those trees. You usually keep the privacy. It's not usually an issue that comes up. It's usually more, when things are going to be cleared for building. That's really when the privacy issue or the cutting issue comes up.
It's could clear it if they're building something there.
They could, I'm sorry?
They could clear it if they had permit to build something.
Well, they can't have they can't. I guess let me put it this way. They can't build something there. They can't put a house there. There's a 75-foot setback where they have to put the house. Okay. But like any other property, if you wanted to go in your backyard and you had 75 feet of behind the house to the property line, and you want to clear all those trees for whatever reason, then you have the right to do that. Like I said, I think the vast majority of people wouldn't do that because they would want to have some buffer, some privacy between them. If they have the trees there, they would want to have that buffer. So it doesn't usually come up unless there's a reason to do so for building purposes. Which it wouldn't here because you can't build the house in that setback. And what I'm actually just trying to quickly look at is to see what trying to pull up the GIS to see how much how much area of trees is on your properties and back behind, Jeffrey, and see how, what kind of buffer you have that you have control over. For some reason, it doesn't want me to pull up 6 lumens. Hold on a second. Doesn't like it.
Yeah,
I'm working on it.
what's the length of the wetland property on the north side? The piece that you're calling wetlands, between there and, right, the piece on the northern side. No, right there, yeah. What's the length of that, roughly?
Okay.
Oh. I mean, I guess I'm saying, does it abut the neighbor's house in the back? Does it cover the whole yard, or?
It does extend pretty much the extent of this corner lot. This is Jeffrey here, correct?
Okay, so then that piece wouldn't be touched, basically.
Oh, yeah, there would be, even extending into the second lot because of the 50.
There's a lot of woodland, I know the property, there's a lot of wood there, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think the woods are all the way down into
I think so,
here,
yes.
existing, you know.
On the
Let me
map,
show that
where's
here.
your property on this map? You know?
Sure.
It's the fourth one from the left there. Yeah, that's us.
Okay. There's a lot of big pine trees in there too.
All right, so if this gives you a sense, this is the GIS, which is the mapping of Southwick with the property lines on it. Right, so that one in yellow there is the property we're talking about. And the ones above it are the ones on Jeffries there, and I'm not sure which one you are as far as coming in. You're what?
The third, we're the third.
You're the third and she's the fourth, all
Mhm.
right. So you can kind of see, I think where that point or that hand is there, that's the third one right there. So, I mean, if that gives you a sense of just how, you know, what you have for trees and then everything behind it. I think it's likely to have another 75 feet of trees that are gonna stay there, when they build that.
I guess I'm envisioning things like barns and animals and stuff, because there's lots of problems with that.
This is R 40.
Yes,
Yeah, and I can't remember. It has come up. I mean, it certainly has come up there, but there are some limits. On what they are allowed to do in an R 40. Certain number of chickens. No roosters. I can't remember the other ones, but there are some limitations as to what you can, because it's an R 40, there are some limitations. It's not like it's a agricultural district where you can have a little bit more free reign as to what you're gonna have there. So there are some limitations.
there's sheep down there, there's sheep and goats at the 107 supplements. You get sheep and or goats down there.
I forget the exact number, I guess the exact number of livestock.
Yeah,
Fire that up if anybody's interested.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is a lot that can be developed. You know, you sort of have to rely a little bit on a good neighbor policy, right? That people will cooperate and using those 75-foot buffers, that there will be some separation in that area. Plus whatever you have in your backyard as far as trees there.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, as you get closer to the front there, there's less and less, you know, trees that are part of that property in the back. So understand that, but you know, the idea behind the way we set it up is that you should have, you know, a decent amount of trees there, because they can't go in there and build it.
what's this?
And the other thing too, I guess to keep in mind, I don't have the distances right in front of me, but going into that lot, if it's all wooded like that, I mean, that's a pretty substantial project to get in deep into that lot, right? And the expense of getting in that far, the expense of running a driveway up that far, you know, the farther you go, the more expensive it's gonna get for someone to do it. So that also sort of is a little bit of a, you know, something that defers people back to, or, you know, brings them back to the front part of their property versus going that far in. And yeah, listen,
Your front two lots on South Dennis, are they gonna have their own individual driveways?
Yeah, these two here, yes.
Okay, so they're not sharing the common.
Correct, yeah, these would be the only two lots sharing that one driveway.
Okay,
Here.
and the proposed lot, do you have a location for septic yet?
Not at this point, no.
Okay, and how about a projected timeline for starting the
I
project?
don't have that information. Like I said, this is just to sort of create the two estate lots and the common drive, and then these other lots can be created tomorrow, probably, right? You know what I mean? You know. And then, I guess, but I don't have that information. I'm not the one developing it. So
And just so you know, with the common driveway, that is the entirety of what that can serve. It can only serve those two properties. It can't be extended in any way, shape, or form after that. Any other public comments?
Yeah, just Ashley Mountain,
Yep.
Jeffrey Circle. So I see the line now where it says the 75 feet, and then I see where it says the proposed tree line. What is the additional? Like, is that another 75 feet where it's proposed? I know you said it was kind of.
This in here?
Yeah,
I mean, at this stage, it's just sort of arbitrary, you know, we just kind of put a house on there to kind of show, you know, this is, you know, a typical house and, you know, provide them with a yard. I guess we do have a, you know, an area where for a septic that was just asked, but there's no, I don't think, we're not gonna be held to that tree line
Okay.
necessarily.
okay.
Any other public comments? All right, anything else from the board? Okay, so I think to make sure, especially with fire, but also, you know, if there's other stray comments sitting out there, have you heard from everybody except for fire?
Oh, no, to be fair, yes, there could be straight comments. Do I expect any? No.
Fair enough. But to at least say we've given the opportunity, because you know, that's one time we don't,
That's when it comes back.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think what we'll do, and we have to write the decision to vote on it anyways, so. I think the plan will be to continue it to the next meeting, leave it open in case, so we can put in the comment as part of the hearing. You know, we'll go through, if there's anything new to offer, we can certainly offer that. If there's any adjustments on the plan in the meantime, certainly we can present that. We'll close the hearing and then we can vote on the decision at the next meeting.
So just to say a lot, I suppose, for mutual understanding, it's clarification on the direction for stormwater permit. Comment from fire department, the buffer that we mentioned, between existing residents and the parking lot.
I mean, is that something you wanted to see something on the plan, is that, or?
If we had the opportunity, we might as well add it to the plan, so if X
part
number
of the
months or years down the road, it
requirement.
gets sold, there's an expectation by the buyer that we
Okay.
can manage that. And I thought there was one more thing, I had to put a question mark. in all
Maintenance
this.
agreement?
Was it?
Maintenance agreement, that's common.
Oh, yeah, run that by me. Teamwork, thank you.
That's a dream. All right. All right, so. During the history of 662A, I'm gonna put this on for 7/15. On October 29th. Do I hear a motion to continue this public?
Dave Spina, so moved.
Dick Utzinger, second.
Do a roll call vote, Michael Doherty, aye.
Dave Spina, aye.
Dick Utzinger, aye.
Jessica Thornton, I.
Okay. So. Just in case you aren't familiar with the process, we're gonna keep this hearing open. There's at least one more comment that may come in from the fire department about the plans. They may make the adjustments that we talked about here tonight to the plans. We'll reopen it on the 29th at 7:15-ish. It may be later if the other hearing goes forward. And then we'll also have a written decision that we'll go through and edit and vote on at that hearing. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. 250 College Highway continued public hearing. Give you that. That's like I did before.
I don't know if that'll do any good.
It's not.
John has some information.
Okay. All right, you said he does.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think John might have a comment response letter.
Okay.
In a revised plan, sure.
Just flip the page, huh?
I like your efficiency there.
Risky, because if I lose it, it's difficult.
It is true. The devil on your rest. right, go ahead, John.
This is obviously, this is continued. It's my understanding that one of the outstanding issues or one of the comments from the last time was, there was sort of a significant excess in parking. I think that was one of the, am I correct in saying that? Yes, so
Surprisingly, yeah.
when do you ever have too much? So scale back the parking, we are now, I think 8 was what was required. We scaled it back to 9. So we're slightly over the minimum required. That reduced a significant amount of impervious in the back area here. Sort of reworked the stormwater. And I think there was also some additional screening to the adjacent properties. I don't know, I can't remember, I don't know exactly, if, some of these arborvitaes were proposed or the fence was proposed. So I don't know if there were any other.
Do you have the comment response letter handy, John?
Let me see.
I know it's when this is kind of round 2, if you will, for this proposal, but we never got so far as formal responses in round 1. If you don't, I can put it up and we can march through it.
Oh, yeah.
I've got it handy if that's the best solution.
I mean, the original comments were from close to November of last year, is that? Yeah.
I decided to regurgitate those.
So I think the first comment had to do with the fact that our proposal had to do with a bylaw that hadn't quite been established yet. Is that correct?
Correct, so that's off the table.
That's also, okay.
Check.
So you just want me to kind of read these and then?
If you don't mind.
Okay, I get it. I wasn't sure
It's all
where
fresh
we're
to the
going,
board,
so,
so.
So comment number 2, the application materials state that the proposed reconstruction of the 4-family building coincides with the surrounding neighborhood by nature. How does this use coincide with others in the surrounding R40 zone land? RLA response. Proposed reconstruction will coincide with the surrounding existing residential land uses within the R40 zone land. Applicant is committed to ensuring the streetscape of the proposed reconstruction aesthetically coincides with the surrounding neighborhood. Please refer to the attached example architectural elevations for greater detail regarding proposed design features. Final architecturals will be provided prior to building permit application and can be provided to the planning board as a condition of approval. I don't know if you have those. I have a couple of copies of those. Typical, yeah.
So just for the board's clarity and review, we have this, I'm gonna call it building functional front, which would be, imagine the parking lot side elevation.
Can you go back to the 9%? That would be the parking lot in the front.
Okay. Thank you.
Comment 3, the application materials state stormwater management will be provided. Acknowledging that the limited scale of the work does not trip a requirement for a stormwater management permit, could you describe at a minimum the goals of the planned stormwater management effort as it relates to on and off-site matters? RLA response, the stormwater basin will be sized appropriately to infiltrate roof runoff and driveway flows from the project site. So the proposed grading sort of has a gutter down the center of the parking lot and will sort of feed down almost sort of a grass swale, probably won't really even be noticeable. It's just a, sort of a depression in the back side. There'll just be grassed area to sort of provide some groundwater recharge, I guess. So there'll be no flows heading towards College Highway. And so everything will be managed on site.
Okay.
Good with that one? Comment 4. The site utilizes public water and a private septic system. The application materials state, if applicable, the renovation, reconstruction of the existing building at the subject property will provide for adequate methods of disposal of sewage, refuse, or other waste generated by the proposed use. will the existing septic system need to be reconstructed? Where is the current septic system, or where will it be reconstructed? RLA response, the site intends to reutilize the existing septic system. And do we have it?
I don't think so, John.
Is it on the wall there?
I don't think you should fish for it. I don't think it's there.
You might know the plan better than me.
This time,
So that is the intention, is to reuse the existing system. Obviously, it'd probably need a Title V inspection. I would assume, and if any issues arise, then move forward from there.
So all 4 units will use the same septic?
I'm sorry,
All 4 units will be using the same septic?
I would assume so, yeah.
I mean, I find it I guess unlikely that that septic would be sufficient for that, given the age of that property and how it was set up, but I don't know. I mean, it seems,
Yeah, I guess it would have to be determined, I guess.
okay, but I mean, the plan would be, I guess, regardless of whether you're using it or able to use it or need to replace it, it's going in the same location that it exists in, but we just don't know where that is at this point.
Right.
Okay.
Comment 5, the application materials state, the building will be renovated and reconstructed to current building code in an aesthetically pleasing manner. The term reconstruction can cover a very broad range of construction activity and appears to include the wholesale replacement of the existing structure. Can you provide greater detail on the scope of work? So that the board members can understand what exterior changes are planned and assess their aesthetic value. RLA response, the applicant intends to reconstruct and slightly expand the exterior of the existing structure. Please see the attached example architectural elevations for further information on the proposed aesthetic design features. The applicant is committed to aesthetic integration with the surrounding neighborhood. Comment 6, how does the project satisfy the requirement under section 185-10C? I'm not sure what that says, but our response was, please see the attached revised project narrative for an RLA response to the site plan review standards for review under 185-10C. Oh, that's that, okay. I guess we do have a revised narrative, but I'd have to dig in and find it.
I'm sorry. What are they from? Yeah, I don't really think I'm gonna read every last one or word for it, but I'm waiting for the board to choose a direction.
I just didn't
Or
know.
at least Torture's a good friend. So.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if they were from a certain department, or a combination of.
I think the ones that John is running through were my original comments,
Okay,
which, to be fair, with the wackiness of the proposal before we had the bylaw that accommodated it, are admittedly a little detailed.
You want me to continue? I might have found a spot where we addressed 185-10C.
Geez, you've come this far, you might as well.
No,
That's my suggestion.
There might be multiple pages. So this involves site plan approval. The following criteria comes directly from the town of Southwick zoning bylaw under section 185-10C with regard to site plan approval, which is presented below in italics, followed by our responses. So in reviewing and evaluating the site plan as part of special permit criteria or otherwise under this chapter, the planning board shall consider the following standards. Consistent with a reasonable use of the site for the purposes permitted or permissible by the regulations of the district in which it is located, in addition to the other criteria set forth in this chapter. Number 1, the proposal must conform to the special permit.
okay, you can, no, that's all right, you don't have to go through all that.
Okay.
You don't have to go through all that.
Nicely done.
Yeah. I mean, John was tapping me saying, yes, make him go through all of it, but I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, move on, you can hop on to the next.
The next, the response.
Yeah.
Off-street parking and loading. Please confirm that no accessible units will be required through the renovation / reconstruction of the building. RLA response, accessible units are not required as part of this reconstruction. Townhouses are exempt under 521 CMR. Comment 8, will there be any illumination of the parking area? RLA response, there is no proposed lighting within the parking area. Comment 9, under 185-20F, parking areas should be screened by planting or fencing on each side of adjoining or facing side or rear lot line of any residential lot. Although the land to the north and east of the subject property is not an active residential use, the parcel to the south is residentially occupied and all of the surrounding parcels are zoned R40. The planning board should consider whether this requirement is satisfied as currently presented and if existing plantings to be retained are adequate. RLA response. The site plan has been provided to show additional landscaping around the parking area and a fence to the north. Comment 10, under 185-30B5, the board may allow parking at a rate between 80% to 125% of the required minimum with adequate justification. The current proposal is a mere 238%.
Did I just say that?
The current proposal
That's clever.
is 238% greater than the required 8 parking spaces. It should be revised to conform to the bylaw. The supplemental justification needed. RLA response. The applicant has revised the parking to show 9 spaces, which is less than the 125% of the required 8 spaces. Other general comments. Number 11. What is planned for the apparent encroachments upon the property? RLA response. The property owner will be in contact with the abutting property owner to discuss the property encroachments and sort out a removal plan. Does that have to do with like the?
I think so.
Yeah. Number 12, how will the planning board determine compliance with the site plan for proposed plantings? Can you define the proposed plant species, size, and spacing? RLA response. A plant list has been added to the revised site plan set for greater information on the proposed plan.
Marcus, I'm so proud of you.
I'll explain later. But no.
That concludes the response letter. By reading
It was well appreciated that you didn't have the same sassiness that John had in his requests than your responses.
There was a buffer between John and that letter, I think.
All right.
Mr. Chair, may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
At the risk of, after having suffered through that letter.
Wanted to read in all the bylaws?
No, I don't. I'm gonna just recap a couple of things for everyone's perspective. So we do have the revised parking lot here. We've got stormwater management being depicted in some way, shape, or form. Understanding that waste disposal will be designed and managed and fit into the property, right? We have dumpsters now shown. We have planting screening on the backside of the enclosure, as well as an extension of that closure along the northerly property line between at the edge of the parking lot. Previously, they did show the additional plantings on the southerly lot line. I only mention that in that it augments what is there under the current scenario. Perhaps the board would wish to contemplate a condition that should that screening at the adjacent private property fail, that some buffering be required of this property owner. Lastly, famous last words, the proposal before us today with the new architectural information does expand to a modest degree over the existing footprint. Now, John, I don't have a good handle in terms of the existing footprint. I don't think there's a porch on the front of that building. So I do think we see an expansion towards the street. and then a squaring off, if you will, of that. I call it rear, it's the white building line, up against the adjacent property. So that would come, into consideration, to be part of the findings that are required of the planning board for that change, in the footprint, as well as, the extension of this lapsed residential non-conforming use.
Yeah, 'cause we do have the discretion to do that. It looks like it's like identified as about 420 square feet, is that right? Yeah. Of additional. Mostly in the front and back.
Towards college and right side. Functional back. I'm having a hard time with the front and back, given that the building.
Oh, I'm
faces
sorry, I'm
right.
saying it two different ways. So the frontage towards College Highway, the. Yeah, yes, I agree with you. Sorry. I'm talking about the front of the original house and then the left side of the original. Or where the expansion is. Okay. All right, anything from the board? Anything else from the planner?
Nothing from the nothing further.
Any public comments? Okay. All right, do I hear do we have anything outstanding? I don't think there is, right?
No, we had, we call it non-department comments, previously.
Do I hear a motion to close the hearing?
Dave Spina, so moved.
That's in a second.
Do a roll call vote, Michael Doherty, aye.
Dave Spina, aye.
Jacob Singer, aye.
Jessica Thornton, I.
Okay. So same thing as the last one, John, will, other than this one is closed, so we will draft up a decision and run through it and vote on it at the next meeting. It'll just be carried as a routine business, so there's no set time for that, but
Sure.
Obviously, if you or the applicant is here, we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. Oh, it's not you, I'm sorry, I didn't know why you're. I just assumed. Oh, yeah, so if anyone's here, then,
Sure.
we'll get to it sooner.
Yeah, the 29th.
It'll be on the 29th, just carry it on routine business. Okay, thank you, have a good night.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cut the trees down.
Oh, I got you.
I just wanna create a family, so it's all going to go together. All right.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a-
Mr. Chair, if I can, reach out for one moment. John, I didn't mean to drag you through that letter.
Oh, no.
Oh, it
If
did.
you meant to deliver it in that fashion and make you feel bad about it, then you've done a good job.
I'm surprised I got through without my reading glasses, but I.
You think
My
you're
arms are still
long.
long enough.
Everybody stopped listening after a while, I think, so. Pardon the interruption.
All right,
Oh, site plan review.
site plan review.
Right there.
Yeah. Okay.
You could put two on the same page, huh?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring two charts.
All right. We'll pull that up. Your last one for the evening?
I hope so.
All right.
Anything left on the agenda?
You can stick around.
Yeah, why not?
Let me talk about the bylaw and then.
Yeah. I would.
I do a presentation for that as well.
You want me to talk this time? Is that what's?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go to it.
this particular project was submitted to conservation. This is the, I guess everybody sees it as the open turnoff I'm thinking so over by Longy's, par 3.
I say it's the old Shibley antique house.
I appreciate the
Yeah, don't show my age.
clarification.
I
You
just
might
thought
be-
it was permanent tractor trailer parking, lunchtime parking, no?
Many people have come to me and said, what are we going to do about trail parking? Nonetheless, this is, if you will, that site. And through coordination with the applicant, and Arlebeck Associates, just like we saw for over Nicholson Hill Road late last year, we have a 2-family home proposal that goes through site plan review on our end. It is, I think it was continued last night through conservation. From a site plan review perspective, I don't think that conservation jurisdiction has any bearing upon the location of the house, which is already pushed as far as functionally away as possible from conservation areas. John, do you wish to share anything? Did I not cover anything?
No, I think you nailed it.
So perhaps the board then wishes to just walk through the requirements under site plan review. I'll bring it up in just a second.
Is that gonna take the whole lot, or is there something else planned down the road after that?
With this all being within conservation jurisdiction, I don't anticipate there being anything.
Should grab site plan review. Bear with me. No, I don't know. Yes, I think in this case, review is very limited.
And this is. What zone?
R40, this location
It is 40.
Yeah, I think there's a small portion over here that's in what the agricultural conservation. But I think it's on the other side of the stream or brook.
Okay.
If I recall, I think Nicholson Hill Road was only ever a protected affair owing to site design challenges related to conservation and the slopes they had out there. I don't think there was a planning board issue aside from waiting conservation to decide at that tricky site.
Okay.
I don't see that seeing this.
All right, anything from the board?
No. Long time ago, Victor Shibley had an auction house there.
Good.
Talking 40 years ago, maybe.
All right, anything else from the? Yeah. This is your last opportunity to make it run through bylaws. All right,
I would never
Um,
do that.
again. All right. So, do I hear a motion
For a positive.
for a positive recommendation for the site plan for 306 Feeding Hills Road?
Dave Spina, so moved.
I think that's in a second.
Do a roll call vote, Michael Doherty, aye.
Dave Spina, aye.
I think that's in the eye.
Okay, that's all we need. All right, you are all set.
All right, very good.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, 2 families allowed. It's got the,
Yeah.
yep, got enough frontage, in the area. It just, therefore, it is by right.
Right.
So as long as it has enough
You
frontage
will,
in the area.
That's why it's
the
coming
waste
to us.
Would you do some sound?
Just go-
I like it,
Yeah.
yay for more housing.
Right.
That's my opinion matters.
John, thanks for coming in.
So,
Good to see you.
Have a good night,
Came
John.
outside of the dumpster,
You're welcome.
done.
there you go. I closed the door, that's right.
Oh, yeah, we don't want the stench flowing. It critters in
I assume Stara is now.
there.
Anything for tonight?
Well, that's 6 or 8 years, they really be fun.
Huh?
Well, 6 or 8 years, they really be fun.
That's the, anything.
Is a miniature form.
I need to just bring that up.
Okay. Wait, you want to grab minutes while you're doing that?
Oh, shoot, this one take a second.
Okay, that's fine.
By zoning. Z.
There you go. Take it down.
Okay.
Okay, I think everybody has a copy of a draft. A super draft, super preliminary. Accessory dwelling unit, contemplated change, to our zoning bylaw. So with the Affordable Housing Act, I believe it's mid-February. That those changes are slated to become active. And I don't think it's a fundamental issue, at least as was bounced around in that fashion with the Development Council meeting I attended. But we do need to consider what review is prudent for by right accessory dwelling units. As well as defining them within our bylaw and figuring out what can be managed and what can't be managed. What's before you, essentially, I folded in, if you will, the definition aspect, if only because the template that I was directed towards, I'm not fully comfortable with growth floor area. We don't talk about it elsewhere in our bylaw, but this is a definition that I'm, as a designer, I'm not comfortable with saying that's applicable throughout the entire bylaw, but that's gonna trip us up at some point. But nonetheless, so let me take one half step back. Essentially, accessory dwelling units are going to be allowed in any district that allows single family homes by right. So in Southwick, that's gonna be our R40 and our 1-2 zones. Right, because AC is by special permit. Business not eligible, VR only allows residential by special permits. And industrial, of course, with batteries business. So having that awareness, I have made reference to, if you will, those two districts, as well as mentioning that, you know, if the overlay district for the wellhead protection area applies, then a proposal would have to adhere to any constraints under those circumstances. Only one accessory dwelling unit is allowed as a matter of right in any property. That's in line with, if you will, the mandate from the state saying that they should be allowed. I have it here as a comment. We don't allow them today. I recognize it's not likely we're going to allow 7 of them on one property in the future, but I do say, should additional accessory dwelling units be allowed on a single property with the issuance of a special permit by the planning board. I think that's an idea that probably comes from density that has yet to arrive in Southwick, but it's here for discussion and thought moving forward. The draft bylaw points out that they should not be used for short-term rental purposes. Dimensional constraints for an accessory dwelling unit is 1/2 of the gross floor area as I defined above. Of the principal dwelling or 900 square feet, whichever is less. Making sure that they comply with the dimensional requirements in our zoning table as applicable to single family homes. Let's see, parking. At least one space being provided for accessory dwelling units. The construction of a new, I wondered if this was a detached garage. The surveyed use shall require a special permit. That's another question. You know, to what degree of regulation should the planning board, does the planning board want? Site plan approval should say, here we go, amendment number 1. So just as we saw for the two-family proposal a few moments ago, it sounds like this is our review process for by right uses. Running through site plan review, making sure that we talk about I suppose location by in terms of the plan, access, parking, architectural style. And if you will, the aspirational idea of minimizing tree vegetation, so removal and grade changes. Related factors. If an accessory dwelling unit is proposed for pre-existing non-conforming primary residence, the requirements of our now amended 185/28 shall apply, provided that no special permit may consider the ADU use or impose conditions on such use. So I think the special permit accommodations that we have built into 185/28 essentially would only apply to matters pertaining to the pre-existing non-conforming.
We wouldn't be able to utilize the ADU as an intensification of use justification.
It appears that we would not. Please understand that what I've thrown out here for an idea certainly should be run through town council for them to identify other potential conflicts. One that's sitting in my mind from this afternoon, and then of course looking at the 6 South Loomis proposal is how does it relate to an R40 estate lot proposal, single family home by special permit, and just making sure that whatever interrelationship there's supposed to be between the two is spelled out. That's a gap. As I see it right here, or at least the answer I don't have just yet.
Is, I'm assuming that. Dwelling is a defined term.
Did I throw that in there? Dwelling is a defined term in our existing bylaw. As I took a ride past it, it wasn't fundamentally, let's just say it out loud right now. No, we have to bat out of the way early on. Dwelling, in parentheses, permanent structure, except that of a hotel or inn intended for human habitation, erected on a closed foundation or a slab, using permanent weatherproof exterior materials, connected to a safe water supply with adequate sanitary sewage disposal facilities, equipped with at least one furnace or other customary form of heating, and constructed with ceilings and walls furnished on the outside with lath and plaster in a customary manner or finished in some accessible substitute. Yada, yada, yada. Proper insulation, maintain a healthful room of 69 degrees Fahrenheit at 0 degrees outdoor temperature. Modular home construction components and individual material construction shall be deemed to come under this definition. So I think that's adequate to cover both a single family home as well as a box, slab mounted box, if that was someone's chosen path for an accessory dwelling unit. So I threw this before everyone just to raise some awareness. There's no apparent discussion or urgent need to try to speak in a special town meeting or to have this in place prior to February 18th. But nonetheless, I would expect that this is something that comes up as we march towards the spring. I want to share with you now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Derek Drive.
My research work on that continues. The goal is to just frankly give everyone both a timeline as well as a reasonably comprehensive list of the deviations from subdivision standards. It will continue to take some time.
Noble Steve.
Noble Steed, as everyone remembers, a couple of years back, flipped from holding covenants in lieu of the bond to a bond securing the remaining infrastructure. The value of that bond is no longer tied to much of anything, the way it's structured. It's a flat amount, whereas I suppose lots will rise and fall with the economy and construction costs and so on and so forth. So within our subdivision regulations, it states that the board may, at 2-year intervals, come back and revalue the remaining infrastructure to make sure that there's adequate protection for the community. We are slightly past. That was, I think, a July, if you will, 2-year opportunity. Mr. Saltmarsh continues to meet with Randy and I to talk about construction. To be blunt, it's been slow. There's been a promise to resume some infrastructure, some key infrastructure work related to drainage this week. Mr. Saltmarsh's suggestion was that we have this discussion on the 12th, where he anticipates having completed that drainage infrastructure work and extending curbs, sidewalk, and pavement patches essentially to the limit allowed with the current roadway. I say the limit allowed because, as everyone I think recalls, there's a stream crossing out there that's currently going through design processes. He's working with T. Reynolds Engineering. We shared some draft information from them for when they're going to be entering a 401 water quality permit application process for that particular crossing. I share that, and I share the notes from our meetings only as related to, I feel, unreserved slowdown in, if you will, the incremental progress that we had seen earlier in the year. Over the past month or so, it's essentially roughly gone quiet. And there's reasons for that. However, that element is pushing forward. I have conservation restriction tasks on my desk, stemming from some town council comments from, at this point, months back. So there's, Mr. Levesque likes to use his analogy of an old drawer, push it one side a little bit and the other at a time as you try to drive that sucker home. If it suits the board, then we have that discussion on the 12th, which is now only 2 meetings away.
And to me, it's up to him to push it forward and come back and make it up. So
So go ahead.
no, I mean, and I mean, I'm trying to think of the stuff that needs to be done, but it sounds like it really needs to be done the next month, or it's not happening for a bit of time.
That's, I think, reasonably accurate, right? We don't have any confidence. We'll probably see another snow-free winter because the heavens above Hayden don't like me to see snow. But nonetheless, you're right. We're not promised any meaningful improvement, particularly if it gets rainy. That slows things down fundamentally. The crossing itself, that permit process, is going to spill into 2025. I don't think we're going to get an answer back from the state on the now revised and amended conservation restriction application until 2025, when it comes back for our local signatures, and then we'll resubmit it to the state. So it's, I suppose, not for a lack of willingness to move certain things forward, but that crossing for sure in connection with the road is going to take a little time. So In the meantime, Mr. Saltmarsh, has indicated that he'll, go through. It's on him to present, Randy Brown with an updated schedule of values for the remainder. We'll look at that, and we're gonna see if, the bond that we hold still is adequate to cover, the remaining work out there. Okay, thank you.
Planning board member is down coming. Diane?
Yes, I just wanted to thank you all for your vote in keeping me on as your associate member. I'm sorry I wasn't there tonight to thank you in person, but I've got something going on here that I don't want to share. So I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the next year.
Any other planning board member and staff comments?
Thanks for agreeing to do it, Diane.
Yeah, right. All right, minutes. April
We
23rd.
just got them. Did you get them email? Did I miss it?
Thursday.
I didn't see it attached to that email.
It's separate.
She's
Sorry, Brian, it's another
I
meeting.
didn't see them,
That's
so
good.
I haven't had a chance to review them. So I know.
She's talking,
I
John.
hate
She's
to approve
talking.
it without you. You absolutely.
And there's already something missing from the town planners report. Am I confident that the rest will be absent?
I also don't know why that 566 is there, but that's a different thing.
No, that's fun.
So,
It's just.
okay. We'll kick them off to the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Well, since we only have one day here.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Good night,
Have a
everybody.
good evening, Diane.
Thank you.
Thank you.